Awesome. Well, thanks so much for joining us, Rebecca. Just by way of intro, my name is Elliot Bridgewater. I'm a legal counsel and advocate for cooperatives in Alberta and British Columbia, and somewhat across Canada for sure. This is kind of an experiment. So we're trying to have a conversation with cooperative leaders that's a lot more broader than what I typically would have around kind of legal structure or government relations work or something like that. I'm really interested in given how quickly the world is changing, what people in the cooperative community think about kind of where their co-op is at, where they've come from with their co-op, where it's going, and kind of how that impacts the broader world around us, or perhaps how the broader world around us is impacting it, and kind of some broader implications for the movement. So yeah, this is kind of just an informal conversation that I'd like to start having more and more, in order to kind of learn really where we should go, and how we might contribute in solidarity to that. And so, yeah, I'm really excited to have you on the line.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Awesome. Yeah, so I guess could kind of get right into it. I was just kind of perusing the website a little bit. I'm really interested in kind of when the co-op started, and the level of member engagement that seems to be the case, and it really does seem like kind of a model for really active member governance and engagement, which is somewhat fleeting these days. So would you mind just kind of giving us a little bit of a background on the co-op and kind of how this came to be?
Sure. Yeah, so Campus Preschool, or Campus as we call it, was formed actually in 1965. It was formed, so we are actually Alberta's longest continuously operating childcare cooperative, which is pretty cool. And it was founded, and why we are called Campus, it was founded by women at the University of Calgary. And so it was faculty, and it was wives of faculty, and it was students, and just people in the community who were looking for childcare. And so that's how it was originally founded. And it was on campus its first year, and then second year it moved off of campus, but we kept the name and moved to various locations throughout the Northwest, always close to the university. And then we have been in our current location, which is Capitol Hill Community Hall in the basement. And we've been there for, I believe, over 35 years.
Wow. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, it's a ways back now, but was there a specific kind of need at that time that the members or the founders felt was unaddressed in the community regarding childcare? And if so, kind of what was it?
I don't know if the need is any different than the need has always been, where people are looking for opportunities to access some time to, I don't know, to get some things done. So, and it was just a group of women who thought that this would be a great opportunity for themselves, and that they could do something locally. At that time, like on campus, on the University of Calgary now, there actually is a childcare facility on site, but that didn't exist at the time. And so I could see that that's probably, it was a group of people that felt that there was a need for it at that time. I don't think that need has changed. I mean, people are always looking for quality childcare. So yeah, I think that's always been.
I noticed some things that seem, especially cooperative about the co-op in terms of its education and involvement. And I'm curious how you see that fit with the co-op model itself, or if you see that fit So I noticed that parents, for instance, are volunteering actively, and there's I'm not sure how often they are, but there's that that's kind of built in, as well as governance of the co-op, so that parents are on either the board or they're on committees. Could you speak to how that's worked, and is it working? Because it seems to be a very high degree of engagement with members. So how has that worked out?
So yeah, our parents are really involved. They really are. And I think it comes from, and I think that because we are a cooperative, we believe that you don't just enroll the child in the preschool, we enroll the entire family. And that it does take the entire family to have this co-op, this preschool operate. Parents volunteer in the classrooms, and they actually volunteer as staff. They count as staff members. So, and it really depends on the size of the class, how often you're volunteering, the needs of the children. Sometimes if we have a really young group of children, we need 2 parent volunteers plus the teacher. And we also have a philosophy at campus that parents and families are always welcome in the school. So we never, if a child wants their parent to stay, or if a parent wants to stay, we never ask the parents to leave. So we have a very full, robust classroom at times with lots of parents and children. As well as working in the classroom, parents also have to serve on a committee. So that could be our board. And then some parents who maybe don't have as much time to volunteer on a committee, maybe they would serve on a less time commitment committee, such as making Play-Doh, which is a really vital thing to do for our community as well. So we do try to have the best. And some parents actually have a really hard time serving on a committee, and so we see what they can offer to the community. We've had parents who have painted murals for us. We've had parents who have built us sheds. We really do try to utilize their skills and their talents to help bring our school forward. And I think that is different from other schools and other preschools, because we do actually really, to join, you do have to volunteer. It's not optional. You can't make a payment to buy yourself out of your volunteer duties. And that really stems from the fact that we believe that parental involvement and family involvement in the child's schooling really serves the children, is best for the children. And I think that there are studies that prove that parents that are engaged with their children's school, that the children do better in school. So, yeah.
That's awesome. Just anecdotally, like how do you, I guess, has that made it more accessible for the community, for the services of the co-op, or how does that get reflected in your cost structure? I mean, I imagine people would be asking, okay, if I'm volunteering, does that make my costs less, or does it make the quality of the service higher? And so what's the vision of the co-op in terms of that kind of service delivery versus contribution balance?
So having parents in the classroom, it does make our costs less, because we don't have to hire additional staff to be in the classroom. So in that respect, it can make our costs less. We do have I think we really aim and strive for really qualified teachers in the classroom. And I think because we have our cooperative model where you're working with so many individuals, that we do really kind of demand a very qualified teacher who can manage all of these. And so perhaps maybe your cost savings on not hiring additional staff to help in the classroom, we can be spending that on higher qualified staff. So our costs are pretty competitive with other preschools. But I also believe that because we do have parents really involved in the school all hours of the day, that it really serves our children very well, and that our children are the ones who win out of this situation. And I believe, like, the families that have been with us, it's really cool because we have been in existence for so long. And so some of our like when we have our alumni who register, like they were children themselves who attended campus. We had a grandma with us this year, and she was one of the first families that enrolled when it was at the University of Calgary, which is really cool because we've got like 3 generations of campus family. So the model, I think, you know, people are really inspired by it, and it's definitely not for everybody though. Like a lot of people don't feel that they have the time to commit to the cooperative, and I think a lot of parents as well don't think that they have the time, or feel like they can't give that time, or, oh, I just had a baby, there's no way that I can, you know, go to school with my toddler. But part of being a cooperative is, you know, like we encourage those families to, well, you could ask another parent maybe to watch your newborn for a couple hours so that you could spend a couple hours in the preschool with your toddler. And that is often an arrangement. And so there's like cooperative babysitting that's happening outside of our cooperative preschool. And so it really starts to build the community, and we have lifelong friendships that come out of this community. And it also serves the, you know, like the communities that, like the physical neighborhoods that we are serving. I think they're tighter for it because these children, they start together as newborns and they stay together right through to high school.
Wow, I think that you know, such a powerful comment. I was looking at the belief statements of the co-op, and really kind of focused on one, and that I think that you've just spoken to, and it states, "We believe in developing a sense of community by helping children understand that each of their classmates has something valuable to offer. And we believe education is cooperative, and that having parents in our classrooms daily demonstrates to children that their families are invested, along with their teachers, in their learning." And what you're talking about is really the ripple effect from those kinds of principles. And what I see as a cooperative lawyer and cooperative advocate is how closely those resemble the co-op principles of contribution, community, and cooperative education, and education among cooperatives, and solidarity, and that ripple effect, so that these kind of ancillary benefits, or these benefits that are indirect from the primary service, really becomes tangible in the community through these relationships that are developed cooperatively and in solidarity. So I'm curious, I guess, as a segue, what do you see? You mentioned it kind of in relationship, but how does, in your view, a cooperative education contribute to the development of an individual child, for instance? Do you see that kind of rippling through their lives?
Oh yeah, absolutely. And like, one of the things that's really important about a parent being in the classroom is for the parent to interact with other children, and not just their own child, and for their child to see their parent interacting with other children, and also for children to learn how to interact with other adults outside of their family. And it's really neat to see the relationships that the children develop with other parents in the community, and how those continue to grow, and how comfortable that our campus children become with multi-aged individuals, and communicating with many different people in the community, and not just with their families. And I really think that's, again, one of the cooperative principles, that it just really bridges that gap, and yeah, builds those relationships that are so important, and that, you know, make the children feel safe in their community, and also helps Yeah, just so that the children feel safe going out and about. Yeah.
Yeah. It reminds me of a word that probably too often used, but I think is apt here, and it's resiliency. From what you're talking about, it really, I think, shows how resiliency is built through these relationships. And so if you have for instance, a single mother who doesn't believe that she'll ever have the time to contribute to a co-op, but all of a sudden there's these additional relationships both in and apart from the co-op that are supportive to her and the child. All of a sudden, maybe that reciprocity grows more, resilience in her ability, in her time or her routine. So it takes some of that pressure and some of that isolation off. So it also seems to be kind of a service to parents that might kind of in this day and age be somewhat atomized or feeling a little isolated or overwhelmed with something that they feel they have to take on in independent
yeah.
the community.
Yeah, I think parents do feel really overwhelmed and very and I think that is something that hasn't always existed in childcare. Is I think people having access to the world in their pocket, but the world having access to them. I think the demands on their time and the pressure that they feel. I think the Instagram culture of seeing what things are supposed to look like in that picture. I think that parents are under tremendous pressure. Yeah.
Mm. Wow. So I guess like moving on from that, how is the co-op doing as a co-op? It seems like the co-op is contributing to community and to parents and to children in a pretty impactful way. But how, what are the struggles that the co-op? I'm sure you've come across some struggles in operation, and how have you met those?
It's funny. I was reading over some of the minutes of years gone by from board meetings, and there was a debate about whether to allow working mothers into the preschool, into the co-op, because of course that would, working mothers would have challenges to their time. And at that time that they were having that debate, the teacher at the preschool was pregnant with her first child. So I thought that was so funny but that was one of the early challenges that they overcame, and of course embraced working women into the preschool. But I can see then, that there were challenges that, realize. I think the number one and consistent challenge is always time. Is that always convincing co-op members that their time poured into the co-op, it does, that they do get rewards from that. Another big challenge, of course, with our cooperative is finances. We used to solely rely on fundraising for our finances, for all of our money, and that was a tremendous strain on our members because they were that's a lot of money to raise. We now are a not-for-profit, and we get casino money, which has its own challenges. It also means that our teachers are no longer board members, they're just associate members, so teachers lost their vote on the board. So that is also a challenge. Another challenge that the preschool has is just how to build that consistency and trying to build, especially because your board members could be changing every year, and they are changing usually every 2 to 3 years. You have a whole new board. So how do you build that consistency, and how do you build that history into the school, and still how do you grow and change so that you're still meeting the needs of your members, and how do you allow for all those new things to come in, like working mothers? Yeah.
So is there any kind of member engagement tricks that seem to have worked, or is it just a matter of kind of ongoing dialogue with members and events and AGMs?
I think it's a little bit of both. Like, I mean, we have AGMs and we have board meetings and we publish all of our minutes, and we everyone's always invited to the board meetings. But then we also really try to have a lot of social events. So whether that's just a party in the school or in the community hall or a party on the playground, but we also try to encourage the families even just to stay after school for another 20 minutes and just to visit for an additional amount of time. Or we used to, like a long time ago, they would offer coffee up in the hall while we were downstairs doing the preschool. We have in the past offered like parental PD opportunities for parents to come and learn about certain topics together that they're interested in. Or even, this was interesting, in the 1980s, they used to this was when video cameras were exciting and new and becoming accessible, and we used to videotape the preschool, and then the one teacher would sit upstairs in the hall and watch the videotapes with the parent and could talk about child development with the parent that they were seeing live in the classroom. So just, I think throughout the years, it's just really honoring the roles and the place where the parents are, honoring where the children are, and then also just always providing an invitation to engage. Yeah.
And how's the feedback from parents on some of that maybe less structured social involvement?
Yeah, we get, I think the parents really appreciate all of it. Not all of them engage in that way. Lots of people just, fill in the blanks and do the minimum. But I still think they're still engaged, and they still are receiving the benefits of it. It's like so many things, you will get what you put in. So, we hope that parents who put a lot in also receive a lot back. Yeah, we do. I mean, every year we have complaints about the amount of time that is required, or volunteering in the classroom, or the amount of work. And there are families that do pull out of our preschool because of the amount of work that it takes. And I think that's fair. Not everybody's in a place where they can meet those needs at this time. So yeah.
I'm curious, just a bit of a broader picture about kind of the experience. Like, do you know of how many co-ops like yours there may be in the city of Calgary or in Alberta? And also, is there any involvement in the co-op community of the co-op? Is there any other co-ops that are participating?
I'm not too sure. Yeah, I'm not too sure. I do know that cooperative childcare, is a pretty common model. I think it makes a lot of sense. I think people do it intuitively when they just watch, their friend's kids while their friend goes to the doctor, or, takes a nap or something. Like, it's a very instinctive and easy, it fills in really easily. And I do know that it is a very common model in childcare.
I mean, you mentioned one of the challenges being financing. Have you worked or spoken with any, for instance, credit unions or any other kind of cooperative enterprise cooperators that kind of has expressed a solidarity with some of the co-op community out there?
Yeah, I do think that would be of great benefit to us. And I think that could help to bridge that continuity piece that I was talking about, that could help to build some of that, because some of that, that knowledge can be lost every year as the board turns over. So I think that reaching out to some of those communities and building that would really help with that.
Okay. Yeah, and is there any kind of plans or needs coming up for the co-op in terms of financing, development, or maintenance, or programming?
Well, we've been really lucky, you know, with all of the subsidies and grants that we've accessed a lot of lines of credit to help us through with the pandemic. And so we've been really lucky that way. And we've also been really lucky, like our memberships, you know, we dig really hard for people who are accountants and lawyers, and like any skills that somebody might have. And you know, to help us write our, like, you know, to help us to figure out some monies, or to help us work, you know, will you be our treasurer? And so we use our strengths really well, like, and we're not afraid to ask. And I think that, you know, like when something falls onto our laps, such as, for a while we had, I think, 3 lawyers on our board, and so we wrote up all of our we redid all of our policy guidelines and stuff like this, and to help. So that was really beneficial to have that, you know. And now we have like a contractor who's our chair this year, and so we've done all of our renovation projects. You know, like, I just think, you know, we're very, you know, you get what you get, and you make the best with what you've got, and you dig for talent, and we find it. Yeah, so that's good.
That's amazing. That's incredibly resourceful. And yeah, pretty inspiring in terms of how you can kind of dig into community and find strength and in a cooperative way. You mentioned the pandemic. How much of a challenge was getting through that, and how did you pull together? You mentioned a line of credit, but did you find anything that was you know, really an inspiring story about how the co-op was able to navigate that crisis, or still ongoing crisis to some extent?
Yes, still ongoing. One thing, like many childcare centers, our enrollment took a real dive, and so that was a real challenge. Another challenge that I think we're just starting to see the trickle down effect of is how it has impacted our, you know, our cooperative philosophy, because people just aren't getting together. When the getting together on Zoom is not, it's not the same. And so all of our board meetings have gone to Zoom, but most people will keep their cameras off, or they won't say anything at all. And so we're not getting that. We're missing a lot of voices at one, because we have a smaller pool of members to draw from, but 2, people just aren't getting together, or they're not staying together on the playground after school, or they so that part has been, I think, a real challenge. And I think that that's something that we really have to work on building back our community and building those relationships, and trying to bring those voices back, because they're really missing from our conversations. Some of the things I think that have worked really well is that we were able to stay open, and that we were able to offer a really successful program. And we kept, one of the things that we said when we were trying to reopen after the shutdown was that we would only reopen if we could get parents back into the classroom. If we couldn't have parents in the classroom, then that was the one cooperative principle that we could not compromise on. And we were able to have parents in our classroom, and to keep our children and our parents coming in. So that was a real win, I think, for us. And we got some amazing creative staff who did some amazing creative things, given the regulations and the limitations that they had. And the children, I think, they were smiling, they were happy, they enjoyed themselves, and we were still able to provide. One of the things that we do is we have partnerships with support agencies who are, you know, support parents with, or children who maybe need help with speech or occupational therapy. We were able to still bring those services into the classroom. So I think in many ways we were still like, we were able to keep parents in the room and we were able to offer a quality program. So I think those were the wins. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you've touched on kind of a nerve with the cooperative, the essence of cooperativism being that it is social, and that community is social, and that community, in order to be community, needs to be together or be able to get together. And so, you know, given the challenges, and given how foundational that is to both the model and especially your cooperative, I really applaud you on being able to be able to find the vision to navigate that time. So, has that, I guess, I want I'd ask about the kids, but how did they do? How did they navigate through this time and come out of, well, at least tentatively starting to emerge from?
Yeah, I think the kids have done, pretty, really well. Like, the kids, we work with a population that did not have to wear masks. And we enhanced their hand washing, and they couldn't have all the sensory toys that they usually do, where they had to have it as an individual experience rather than as a group experience. But I still think that the children were able to have a very enriched experience, and they were still together. And so that social component for the children was still there, which is essential. Yeah, so I think the children came out really well. Yeah, and that was another thing. Like, if the children weren't going to win, then it wasn't going to be worth it, right?
Yeah,
we
yeah,
are
exactly.
yeah, yeah.
So I guess building on that, we're kind of still going through the difficulties of COVID, and really some of the difficulties that are emerging of the 21st century. What do you see as kind of one of the key challenges, and maybe on the flip side of that, the opportunities going forward for the co-op, given kind of the level of change in our society?
Well, I think like one of the things as throughout the pandemic is like, we became very local, and you became very small, and you became very plugged into your community, and your community got a lot smaller, and I think that is actually very natural for cooperatives to grow out of that, and people helping each other and people finding opportunities within their community rather than looking into a broader community. And I do think that was something that COVID, or that the pandemic really almost fostered in a way, because I know, like, just in my neighborhood, I spent a lot more time with my neighbors, and they became my social, was just sitting on the front steps talking with each other. So I think in that way, the pandemic has kind of maybe shone a light for all of us on our community resources and what we do have on hand, and who is around us and who can help us. I think obviously, one of the biggest challenges, I think, for cooperatives are time. And that has always been is convincing people that involvement in a cooperative is worth the time that you put in. I think people feel tremendous pressures on their time and how it's spent. And, I think that's also like the movement behind like the whole mindfulness campaigns and stuff, is really just to be in the moment and not to feel those pressures of time. And that's so important for working with young children, especially, to be with them in the moment. So, but I do think that that's something that cooperatives share universally. It's convincing people that the time you put into the cooperative is really a worthwhile. The returns are tremendous.
I think that that is really kind of an important tension with the kind of engagement with members, and kind of why it's worthwhile investing your time and energy in a cooperative and in these relationships. And you see the resilience and the resourcefulness that grows from that commitment, versus balancing that against a lot of relationships that are somewhat ephemeral, very complex, very demanding on families, and sometimes leave families more isolated at the end of the day. Yeah. But obviously is how we bring home the bacon, so to speak, as well. So that balance is I think difficult at the best of times, but also I think it points to a larger tension in our society, and one of the ways that we can respond effectively through cooperatives, and one of the ways that cooperatives have always done so. So you've got an example of your co-op, which is I guess flourished in that environment, but also been able to sustain. And that's such an amazing example of resiliency that and community enterprise that maybe we don't have enough stories of these days. So I'm so happy that you can share that. I guess from your experience, I guess is a broader question, but for people that maybe are thinking about, what do co-ops mean to them? Maybe just what has it meant to you to be involved in your co-op, and what do you think co-ops bring kind of generally to communities?
Oh, well, like one of the things that I absolutely love about our little cooperative is just the community that it builds. Every year I meet amazing families and amazing children, and it inspires me to no end to keep going and to give more, because these people are I just am honored that they would consider spending their time in our cooperative. And for myself, like I really believe in community and in building community. And this was a talent that I had with young children that I could offer to the community that would sustain and build. And I thought that this was a wonderful way that I could contribute. And I think that that's also really unique about cooperatives, is that that it is a society, it's a community, and so we can find room for whatever your skills and your interests are, and we can build them into our co-op. And I think it's a very worthwhile model, because I think it is what is going to sustain us into the next pandemic or whatever challenge that comes up. Having that community that's strong and that has those bridges built and has those relationships, that is really what is going to keep us and sustain us.
Oh, thank you so much for that. I think that's a great place to kind of draw this full circle. I'm really inspired. I really am inspired by the story of the co-op. Is there anything else that you'd like to share, just more generally? Is there, just in terms of the community, is there anything upcoming or events or anything that you'd like to talk about or share with us?
No, we're still open. We're still open for registration. We're still hoping to grow. Like we're still, we're still growing and we're still changing. We're trying to, right now, like a major focus for our school is how do we better reflect our community in our school? Do people that come into our school, do they see themselves there? If they do, why? If they don't, why? So I really value that growth and that challenge and that still becoming, which I think is pretty cool. So come and check us out. It's a fun place to be. It's really cool. Like I just love, you know, because we've been in existence for so long, there's, you know, toys that have been there for a very long time, and there's activities that have been there for a really long time. There's great traditions built into the school. Yeah, it's a really unique spot. I really enjoy it.
Well, I'd say that it really sounds like Campus Preschool is an incredible asset to the community in Calgary. And is there any way that the cooperative community can in turn support you or kind of participate? I should mention that there is of course, the ACCA gathering coming up in October. I believe that's October 26th to 28th. That Alberta Community Cooperatives Association is hosting in Edmonton. It would be obviously great to see you there. Yeah, is there any way that the co-op community members who may check this out can participate or assist or support the co-op?
Yeah, I think that's something that our members should check out, most definitely, and that we should start building those communities so that, yeah, we are more resilient together for sure, and finding those resources together, especially like some of the common challenges that we face. So that would be, I think that would be critical to going forward for sure. Yeah.
Great. Well, thanks so much for your time today. And it's a great conversation, and I hope we can have more in the future.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Really enjoyed this.